Hello students, this is Mrs. Jones. Today I'm talking about margins and columns and gutters. Gutters are the spaces in between the columns on a piece of paper. So the very first question we're going to review how to do is calculate the top and the bottom margins. On this particular layout we have 3 columns and they are each 2 inches wide with 45 lines, and they are 12 set on 15. So we're going to kind of use that information to calculate the total length of these columns. So it's 45 lines and 12 set on 15. That means that the actual text is 12 points and there's 45 lines, so we're going to take 12 times 45. That's 540 points of text. And then if we look at the spaces in between the lines, which is called leading, when it's 12 set on 15, that means that there are 3 points of leading. And there's always one less piece of leading than there is lines on the column or lines on the page. So we've got 3 times 44, and that's 132, and this is still points. So if we add those things together, you get that your columns are 672 points tall or long. We have to convert that into inches because we need it to calculate the margins in the page. If we have 72 points, now this is a review from a while back, and we want to convert it into inches, there's 72 points in an inch, so we're going to divide this by 72. 672 divided by 72 is 9.33 inches. So each column here is 9.33 inches long. So to continue doing the top and the bottom margins, we have to think about the unused space. If our sheet of paper is 11 inches tall and our columns are 9.33, to do the unused space, I'm going to change my color and pen here, we would take 11 minus 9.33. So 11 minus 9.33 is 1.67 inches of unused space. All right. The proportional method is that 40% of that unused space would end up at the top, and 60% of the unused space would end up at the bottom. So we got to find out for the top margin, it would be 40% or 0.40 of the unused space would end up in the top margin. 0.668, and remember we changed these to inches, so 0.668 inches would be in the top margin. The bottom margin, 60% or 0.60 of the unused space would end up at the bottom. And that is 0.60 1.0002 inches. Oh shoot, I made a boo-boo. Let me erase that. .002 inches would end up in the bottom margin. Alright, so to do the right and left margins, we have to think horizontally the amount of space that is used. Each column is 2 inches wide, and we have these gutters that are 1/2 inch gutters. So total being used, we have 3 columns that are 2 inch wide, and we have 1/2 inch gutters, and if we add those all together, we get 7 inches of used space. So this is 7 inches of used space. Again, when you do margins, you want to think about how much space is left over. We have an 8.5 sheet of, or 8.5 inch wide sheet of paper. So we would take our 8.5 and subtract out the 7 inches. That means that we have 1.5 inches of unused space horizontally. According to the proportion method or the percentage method, 50% of that unused space will end up on both sides of the page. So for our right and left margins, because if they're both 50%, they both be the same, right? And left, we have to figure out 50% or 0.50 times our unused space. So 0.75 inches would end up on the right and the left side of our page. Alright, so I hope this video is very helpful to you. Please answer the questions on the Google quiz. Make sure that you hit submit on the Google quiz, and also hit submit on the assignment in Google Classroom in the upper right hand corner. Alright, thank you very much.